And we got some pretty decent looking stuff right here. Still a little chunky in some spots. I wouldn't say it's completely finished, but it's getting mighty close. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? I hope everybody out there is having a fabulous day. It's a beautiful, not quite fall Saturday here on the homestead. I think we're only supposed to get about 85 degrees today. We got to call the dogs on the ducks later today, but before we do that, we got a little work we need to do in the garden. So the main thing we need to do today has to do with our girls here. We got to get them off this plot right here. On our last video, I told you about our raised bed garden plan, layout, and all that stuff. We got to get the girls off of here so we can start getting this ready to put the raised beds on it when we get them in the mail and get them assembled. I've got a good spot for them on the other side of the property over there. Got some millet. We're going to move them over there, let them start eating that millet. So moving the girls today. I also want to give you guys an update on our worm bin and show you how that's coming along. And then we've had a lot of people asking about our composting situation with our geo bins. I want to give you an update on that as well. So the girls are on the tail end, the last day of their journey on this soybean cover crop right here, and they're ready to go somewhere else. They've been talking to me all morning. They worked this over pretty good, and they seem to really enjoy the foliage on these Laredo soybeans here. And within the last couple of weeks, we actually started to get some soybean pods there. You can see them growing nice little fuzzy clusters there. So chickens have also been enjoying those in addition to all the leaves. So this was our first ever successful soybean cover crop, and also the first time we ever grazed them with chickens. We tried soybeans last year in our no-till plot. Couldn't get them to germinate real well. They seem to germinate a lot better if you till the soil, fluff it up a little bit, rake those seeds in good, water them in good, and you get a nice good stand like we had here. And so from what I've seen in this plot right here, these Laredo soybeans will make a great cover crop for a backyard garden. Also work really good if you want to incorporate some chicken grazing into the mix. We get a lot of vegetation, a lot of good ground cover, a lot of good weed suppression. And if we weren't about to install a bunch of raised beds on this plot and let the chickens go around it one more time, I think they'd pretty much knock it back for good. But you can see there where they've been, where they've mowed it down pretty good. We still got a lot of vines, a lot of good ground cover, a lot of good organic material being added to the soil. So I can't really say enough good things about this Laredo soybean cover crop. It's just been wonderful for this plot. Hate that we're going to not get to reap quite all the benefits from it since we'll be putting in these taller raised beds, but at least it was a good learning experience, and we know we can do this successfully and really help out some of our other in-ground plots with it in the future. So the chickens are coming off the Laredo soybeans, and they're going right here, just a few plots over, to this lush, dense cover crop of pearl millet. So I showed y'all a few videos how the tips of this stuff is brown a little bit. Still seeing a little bit of that in there, but it has greened up a little more in the last week or so. Some of it also got a little bit flattened the other day. When you have it planted this thick and you get some really heavy rains and a little bit of wind with it, it can tend to lay it down a little bit. You see that over there. It stood back up a lot since that happened. It was laid down really good, starting to stand back up a little bit, but we got some really good ground cover, a lot of good vegetation in here. And I know from grazing sorghum Sudan grass earlier this year, it looks a lot like this pearl millet here, that it can be tough to pull that chicken tractor through this stuff when it's about 3 or 4 foot tall like this, when it's really thick like this. So what we need to do is use the mower and help us out a little bit. So I'm gonna go grab the mower, we'll put it on the highest setting, and we'll just chop and drop this stuff, and it'll make it a lot easier to be able to pull the chicken tractor through there.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. sent from the Lord. Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
Alright, so we got that a lot more manageable now. Just some absolutely beautiful chop and drop action going on there. Look at all that good green stuff we dropped on top of the soil. This millet should grow back just fine. Not worried about that. Got it cut about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall in some spaces. Some places in the middle there, it was pretty dang thick. But the mower got on through it, chopped and dropped that stuff there, was able to keep it all blown towards the inside of the plot so we didn't lose any of it. And now it's time to put the girls on here, let them do their thing. Are you gals ready? I said, are you ready? So now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching at home, let's get ready to rumble! Now we didn't tumble, but we did rumble over here, and now the chickens are ready to do their thing on this plot right here. So same process as all the others. We'll move that chicken tractor every single day, and it'll take them about 20 days or so, 20 to 25 days to cover this entire plot or make it around this entire 30 by 35 plot one time. Now I'm pretty sure I'm going to do onions in this plot. I don't know if it'll be all onions. Don't know what else I may throw into the mix, but we know onions are heavy feeders. We know onions like plenty of nitrogen, especially once they get up and going. And I don't need to plant onions until early November. That means I got about 2 months to work with here. So since I have 2 months to work with, I think we can do the chickens 2 rounds on this plot. Get a lot of good manure addition going down, and those onions should love that. Now the chickens will obviously knock down and terminate some of this vegetation as they're working away along the plot, but also some of this millet will regrow and get kind of tall and thick again. So we're going to have to help them out with the mower a little bit as things progress along. So probably by the time they get about halfway through this plot here, I'm sure I'll have to come in here with a mower, knock this stuff down again. It should keep growing back, should tolerate at least, 4 mowings or so from my experiences. So let the chickens work on it as hard as they can. We'll help them out with a mower when we need to. Now as far as feed for the gals goes, I will have to give them a little bit of chicken food here and there. The only cover crop I've found thus far where I don't have to give them any chicken food would be the clover. They really, really like the clover. The clover can tolerate really heavy grazing and grows back. So we didn't have to give them any chicken food on the clover this past fall. But on the soybeans, on the sorghum sudan grass, and the red ripper peas, and I'm pretty sure with this millet here, we have to give them a little bit of feed. So I give them about a scoop every other day. That keeps them happy. They're eating a lot of this green stuff here. We'll give them a little bit of food just to supplement. And doing that seems to keep our egg production going pretty good. Got this gal sitting right there right now. We've still been getting them anywhere from 4 to 6 eggs a day. So still some good production. Alright, so now let's talk about our worm bed that's right over there. But before we do that, let me admit just how wrong I was. So when we first showed this worm bed, a lot of people said, you're going to have to drill some holes in it. It's going to get too wet in there. I said, nah, it'd be alright. It's under this tree. Not going to get a whole lot of water underneath that tree there. We'll be fine without any holes in it. I was wrong. Came out here the other day and this thing was just loaded up with water, worms swimming around in there, and I was getting pretty worried. I was like, man, I'm gonna lose all my worms, lose all my hard work. So I went and got my drill, got me a little paddle bit, and drilled a hole in there, and we're back to normal now. So I drilled a hole in the flattest place I could find on the back side of this Rubbermaid bin here. And yes, I did collect what was coming out of that hole. Got some right there and got another in a jug over there. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Now my plan was originally to drill a hole and then build some kind of spigot coming out of this thing here so I could control the flow a little bit, and I could flush it if I wanted to, you know, harvest some worm tea or something like that. But this was an emergency situation the other day, so I just had to kind of drill a hole, and maybe we'll rig up something later, but right now it's just a hole there, and then you sit a bucket underneath it to collect anything, any liquid that comes out of it. So here's what I've harvested or collected to this point as far as the worm tea goes. Just recycled this big water jug here, and then I need to pour whatever's in that pitcher there into something. So that's some pretty good looking stuff there. But I've never done this, so I don't really know exactly how we're supposed to use it. Now I know you can apply this worm tea in several different ways. You can just kind of pour it on the soil there. We did a little bit of that in our onion raised bed there behind me. You can also mix it in a sprayer, mix it in a tank, and use it as a foliar spray to kind of combat disease. What I'm not quite sure about is the dilution factor. I've seen several things online that said you got to dilute this stuff. Doesn't seem to me like it would be that hot. But I guess maybe you don't want to waste it and you want to kind of stretch it out further, so you dilute it. So if any of you out there are worm tea experts, let me know how much I should dilute this stuff before I use it as a foliar spray or maybe even a soil drench. Now as far as the worms themselves go, they're doing great. Now right after we built this, someone said that the big pond worms, the big fishing worms we put in here, wouldn't really do well and coexist well with the red wigglers. They were right about that. I think the pond worms are gone, but the red wigglers seem to be really thriving, the compost worms. So we had a little can we put in here initially, and then I went online to, I think it's Big Jim's Worm Farm, something like that, and got several hundred more just because I've been loving this worm farm deal. So I put several hundred more in here, and they are kicking now. There's a lot of them in here. They've started to eat on this cardboard a little bit, and they're just multiplying, and they're just everywhere in here. Been putting shredded paper, shredded cardboard, put some muscadine holes and scraps in there from, you know, what we had left over from making jelly. Putting all kind of stuff in here. I put some fish heads, some fish guts in here the other day. I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not, but hasn't seemed to hurt anything, and there's just worms everywhere in here, and I'm just tickled about my worm bed. This is one of my favorite things I got going on right now. I come out here and talk to these worms and look at them just about every single day, and I'm thinking about starting me another worm bed. I'm just all into the worms right now. So I think at some point in the future I'm going to add another container here for the worms. I think I'm going to need two, especially when I start harvesting some worm castings off these. I got to come up with some kind of rig, screening rig, so we can roll the stuff around, get the worm castings out, save the worms, put them back in the worm farm. But I think this whole system here, especially once we get it up and going good, is going to be really helpful for our raised beds. We can use the worm castings in the raised beds. We can use the worm tea in the raised beds. And we probably won't have enough here to, you know, do all of our big in-ground plots, but at least for our new raised bed setup, the worms we have here should be pretty helpful. And speaking of stuff for our new raised bed setup, we almost got some good finished compost here that we can use in those new raised beds. Now before I show you the compost up close, let me tell you this one little thing. So you notice we got a new geo bin right here, and this one's green. The other ones we have are black. So the company that makes the geo bins in the USA, I think the company's called Yardfully, something like that, sent me an email a week or so ago, said, hey, I saw your video where you're talking about these geo bins. Those ones you're using off Amazon are actually foreign made. They kind of copied what we're doing. We make the original geo bin here in the USA. Let me send you one. And then they also have them in a couple different colors. So that's what we have here. I didn't throw away the other ones. I still have them back there. But that's what we have here, the USA made version. I'll put a link in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. I think they have them in white, green, and black. I kind of like the green color there. So we've got one empty geo bin there. We've got one empty geode bin there. We've got this one here that's got a little bit of stuff in it, not a whole lot. Somebody put a whole box in there without shredding it, but that'll be okay. There's an aloe plant that was dead, and Brooklyn dumped it in here, then it kind of came back to life, so I guess I need to pull it back out of there and repot it and put it somewhere. But this is the one we've been adding to most recently. Then we got this one here, this new one that's got the close to being finished compost in it. So I just took what was in all the other bins except that one, flipped it, turned it, put it all in here, and we got some pretty decent looking stuff right here. Still a little chunky in some spots. I wouldn't say it's completely finished, but it's getting mighty close. And may not look like a whole lot, but with that thing right there completely full, we'll have a decent amount of compost to use in our raised beds there. I don't know if we'll have enough for every single raised bed that's going in that new plot, but we'll have a good bit here to put on top. So I'm pretty excited about finally being able to use this stuff. Now, we were aware when we started this whole composting deal that we were never going to be able to make enough compost to supply all 10 or 11 of our garden plots. Those big in-ground garden plots take a lot of compost. But if we're able to make enough compost for our new raised bed setup, just for that plot specifically, I think that would be great, just to show that sustainability and recycling in action. So that's kind of my goal. If we can just make enough compost for those raised beds, we can still purchase compost, big loads of that gin trash compost for the in-ground plots that require a lot, but maybe, just maybe, we can make enough here to keep our raised beds happy. And now that we've got our chickens out of this plot here, we're one step closer to getting it ready for putting those raised beds here. So on one of the next few videos, we're going to be working on getting this plot cleaned up. We got to check on those peanuts over there. We may pull a few of those, see if they're worth keeping. The plants don't look that great, but maybe we can get some peanuts out of them. We might check our jumbo peanuts over there on the other side of the barn too. With the dogs now playing on Saturdays, I just feel like I need to be boiling some peanuts, and I'm not boiling peanuts because I haven't dug any peanuts yet. So we probably need to check on those pretty soon and see what we got. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and don't forget to let me know in the comments below if you played around with the worm tea thing. What dilution factor do I need to use? Is there a general rule of thumb there, or do I need to get this stuff tested and then figure out my dilution from there? Somebody please point me in the right direction. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check out our affiliate links below. A lot of great companies that we use in our gardens here at Lazy Dog Farm. Even got some coupon codes for some of those companies, so you can take advantage of those discounts. Don't forget to go check out our website, lazydogfarm.com, where we've got some new blogs up, new recipes up, hats, shirts, all kind of good stuff over there. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, like and share, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell. By the beauty of your life,